Welcome back, children. Good morning, everyone. So, last class we have seen till quack cure als, and it's on page number 109. So, let's continue the lesson. Take out your notebooks so that you will understand the story better. Let's continue. So, it's on page number 109 and fifth line. We are going to continue with the fifth line. He became fed up, and so he thought over various plans of relief and finally hit upon that of professing to be fond of painkiller. He asked for it so often that he became a nuisance, and his aunt ended by telling him to help himself and quit bothering her. Okay, so Tom, he became very sad, and he was thinking various plans to recover from his sadness. Okay, that is the treatment given by his aunt Polly. Okay, so it was a very much disturbance for him, and so he planned to take painkiller. Okay, so everyone knew what is a painkiller. It is a tablet, right? So tablet, it may be in the form of tablet or in the form of a tonic. Is it clear? All right, so he was trying many things to get recovered. So he was often asking the painkiller to Aunt Polly. So he became great nuisance. All right, so he became a nuisance to Aunt Polly. And why he became a nuisance? Because every time he was asking for painkiller to her, and so she told him to help himself, that is to take it by himself. Okay, not to ask her every time. So he is going and troubling her very often, asking for the painkiller. So she asked him to take by himself, and she stopped bothering him. All right, so she did not take a necessary care of him. Okay, all right, next. She found that the medicine did really diminish, but it did not occur to her that the boy was mending the health of a crack in the sitting room floor with it. Okay, so she found that the medicines were, really diminishing. So diminishing means reduce. So underline and write that diminishing means reduce. Okay, so the medicines got reduced day by day, and the medicines, because he was taking the medicines daily, right? So very often he used to take this painkiller, and so the medicines got reduced. Okay, so he was actually putting the painkiller into the crack in the sitting room. Is it clear? And he was trying to repair it. So he was just repairing the floor. So here mending means repair. Okay, so underline the word mending and write repair. One day Tom was in the act of dosing the crack when his aunt's cat Peter came along, purring, eyed the teaspoon greedily and begging for a taste. Tom said, "Don't ask for it unless you want it, Peter." But Peter signified that he did want it. "You better make sure." Peter was sure. "Now you have asked for it, and I'll give it to you, because there ain't anything mean about me. But if you find you don't like it, you mustn't blame anybody but your own self." So here, Tom, he was dosing the crack. Okay, that is, he was again repairing the crack in the floor. So Peter, that is aunt's cat, came by that side, and it gave the purring sound. Okay, so purring is the sound which is made by the cat. So eyeing the teaspoon carefully means it wanted painkiller, and it was begging Tom for a taste. Okay, so Tom said if Peter wanted it for sure. So he is asking the cat if it wanted the painkiller for sure. And the cat Peter was very sure, and it wanted to taste the painkiller. Okay, so the cat, it wanted the painkiller. It wanted to taste the painkiller. Okay, and it said yes to Tom, that it wanted to taste the painkiller. Alright, so next. Now you have asked for it, and I'll give it to you, because there ain't anything mean about me. But if you find you don't like it, you mustn't blame anybody but your own self. Okay, so Tom said that it was you who asked for it, and you should not blame me if anything happens. Okay, so he was very much sure about that, and Peter was agreeable. So Tom opened his mouth and poured down the painkiller. Peter sprang a couple of yards in the air and then delivered a war whoop and set off round and round the room, banging against furniture, upsetting flower pots, and making general confusion. Next, he rose on his hind feet and danced around in a frenzy of enjoyment, with his head over his shoulder and his voice proclaiming his happiness. Alright, so here what's happening now? We are just, telling after having, eaten the painkiller, the cat's condition is described here. Alright, so Tom, he opened Peter's mouth and he poured the painkiller. Okay, so Peter sprang. So sprang means jumped. Okay, so underline the word sprang and write jumped. Okay, so Peter, he jumped a couple of yards in the air. So he jumped a long distance. The cat was behaving in a funny way. So here yards means 1 yard is 3 feet. Is it clear? So it was a very long distance. He jumped to a long distance. Who jumped here? The cat jumped. Is it clear? So war whoop. War whoop means a terrific cry. So it was crying round and round the room. Alright, so it was hitting against the furniture. Okay, so just imagine, the cat, it had this painkiller, and it became like, you know um, in a funny way. Okay, so let's see what are all the things it did. Okay, so it was crying and it was hitting against the furniture and made the flower pots upside down, and it made a general confusion there. Okay, so everything was a mess over there. All right, so initially it was crying. So first it was crying and now it was dancing around. So the cat was dancing, just imagine. Okay, so it was dancing around in a frenzy way. So frenzy of enjoyment. So what do you mean by frenzy? Frenzy is a foolish way. So it was dancing in a foolish way. Okay, so after drinking that painkiller, it was behaving in such a way, in a funny manner. Okay, so his head over his shoulder and his voice proclaiming here means happiness. So his voice was just like announcing his happiness. It was in a very happy state. Okay, so then he went tearing around the house again, spreading chaos and destruction in his path. Aunt Polly entered in time to see him throw a few double somersaults, deliver a final mighty hooray, and sail through the open window, carrying the rest of the flower pots with him. The old lady stood petrified with astonishment, peering over her glasses. Tom lay on the floor, expiring with laughter. So what's happening now? Then he spread chaos. Okay, so chaos means confusion. Okay, so everywhere it was a confusion there, and destruction means causing damage. Is it clear? So the cat, it was causing a damage to the house there. Okay, in the house, damage in his path. So path means on his way. Okay, so finally Aunt Polly, she entered the room, and she saw the cat through a few double somersaults. Okay, so somersault means upside down. All right, so finally the cat, now it left the place. All right, it left the place by carrying the flower pots with him. Okay, so the cat, it was taking the flower pots with him. Okay, so the old lady stood petrified. Okay, so here petrified means scared. She was having a look over this cat, and it was doing all sorts of funny things, and to one point of time she was very much scared what has happened there, and she was unable to move with astonishment. So what do you mean by astonishment? That is with great surprise. All right, so on seeing the cat doing all sorts of things, she became very surprised, and also she was very much scared. All right, so peering over her glasses means she was looking over her glasses. Okay, so this lady, she is wearing glasses, right? So she was looking at the cat doing all funny things. Tom was lying on the floor and was laughing. Is it clear? Next, Tom, what on earth ails that cat? I don't know, aunt, gasped the boy. Why, I never see anything like it. What did make him act so? Dee, I don't know, Aunt Polly. Cats always act so when they are having good time. They do they? There was something in the tone of that made Tom apprehensive. Yes, that is, I believe they do. You do? Yes, yes, them. The old lady bent down and took the teaspoon and held it out. Tom winced and dropped his eyes. Aunt Polly raised him by the usual handle, his ear, and cracked his head soundly with her thimble. So now what's happening? Aunt Polly, she asked Tom, what on earth ails? Okay, so earth ails. So what do you mean by ails? Ails means troubled. Okay, so what troubled the cat? So what made the cat do all these things? See, she is now questioning Tom. Alright, so Tom answered that he don't know anything about that. Okay, so again she asked and he said that the cats are always like that. Okay, so when they are having good time they act like that, he said. All right, so he is saying he is complaining on the cat itself. Okay, so cat is having a good time and so it is, behaving in such a way, in a funny manner. Okay, so Tom was acting as if he don't know anything about this. All right, so there was something in that tone of that, made Tom apprehensive. So here apprehensive means something bad, like he was hiding something there. Okay, so Tom said that he believed that the cats behave in such a manner, so when they are having a good time they behave in such a manner. All right, so next, the old lady bent down and took the teaspoon and held it out. Tom winced and dropped his eyes. Aunt Polly raised him by the usual handle, his ear, and cracked his head soundly with her thimble. Now, sir, what did you want to treat that poor dumb beast so far? I done it out of pity for him because he hadn't any aunt. Okay, so here finally the old lady, she bent down and took the teaspoon. Okay, and found that it was Tom who was the reason behind this incident. Okay, so she found the teaspoon there and somehow she realized that it was Tom. Okay, so she caught him by her usual handle, okay, and raised his ear and she hit his head soundly with her thimble. Okay, so thimble means a small metal to protect the fingers when you're pushing the needle for sewing. Okay, so they use it for stitching purpose. Okay, so check it, children. So find the image for the thimble and you will know it. Is it clear? So she caught Tom and questioned him why he treated the poor dumb beast. That means the poor voiceless creature, the cat. Okay, in such a way, why did you treat this poor cat? Okay, so she was questioning Tom about that. Okay, so now Tom is answering very cleverly that he had done it out of pity, and he also said that the cat did not have aunt. Okay, the cat is not having aunt to take care of him, and that is reason why he did such things to the cat. So now she questioned what it didn't have aunt, you foolish person. Okay, so hadn't any aunt, you numbskull. So numbskull means a foolish person. Okay, so what has that got to do with it? Okay, so what the cat is going to do with aunt? Okay, so is this a reason you are a foolish person and you are giving me such answer? All right, so heaps, because if he had one, she burnt him out herself. She had a roasted bowl out of him, thought any more feeling than if he was a human. Aunt Polly felt a sudden painful regret. This was putting the thing in a new light. So, what was cruelty to a cat might be cruelty to a boy too. Okay, so here heaps means untidy room. Okay, Tom was making Aunt Polly to realize her mistake. Okay, so he was telling if the cat had an aunt like Polly, she would have roasted, burnt him. Okay, so that made Aunt Polly to, made her feel the pain of Tom. Okay, so she felt really bad about that. She regretted. Okay, that is, she felt very sorry about her attitude. Okay, she was showing on Tom. Alright, so Aunt Polly felt a sudden painful regret. This was putting the thing in a new light. What was cruelty to a cat might be cruelty to a boy too. She began to soften. She felt sorry. Her eyes watered a little, and she put her hand on Tom's head and said gently, I was meaning for the best, Tom, and Tom, it did do you good. Tom looked up in her face with just a recognizable twinkle peeping through his gravity. I know you was meaning for the best, auntie, and so I with Peter. Alright, so here what's happening? She felt sorry about her attitude, and that incident, it made her realize her mistake. Okay, so that made her think what was cruelty to a cat, okay, which was causing a pain to the cat. It might be a cruelty to a boy too. Okay, so it may cause pain. Okay, so then she began to soften in her tone and voice. All right, so she felt sorry and she felt bad, and her eyes were filled with tears. And she put her hand on Tom's head and she told him, okay, about that incident. Okay, so she was very much sorry about it, whatever she had done. Okay, about her cruel attitude which she had on Tom. Okay, so she felt sorry, and she was apologizing to Tom. She said that she meant to do good to Tom. Okay, so she was saying everything was a good thing which I wanted to do. Okay, so that is what she informed Tom. So Tom informed that he knew that she was good to him, and that is the reason why he was behaving good with Peter the cat. Okay, so she was showing a good love and affection towards Tom, and that made him to behave in a good manner with the cat too. So that he informed Aunt Polly. Okay, so I never see him around so since. Oh, go long with you, Tom, before you annoy me again, and you try and see if you can't be a good boy for once and you needn't take any more medicine. Okay, so now she says him not to take any medicine again. So even if you're good or bad, okay, so even if Tom is behaving in a good manner or in a bad way, okay, she don't want him to take any medicine. Okay, so and she informed him that she would be good to him thereafter. Okay, so this is all about this lesson. So one more thing is, you know the good information is given by Samuel, okay, the author. So too much of care and hidden love is you know said here. Okay, so from the beginning we saw that Aunt Polly, she was very affectionate to Tom. Okay, so she showed too much of love and care, affection on him, and that led Tom into trouble. Okay, so because of the painkiller, he gave that to the cat too, right? So the cat made the whole room into a mess. Okay, so the cat, it damaged everything in that room. Okay, so it made everything untidy, okay, unclean. And Aunt Polly, she had affection on Tom, but she did not show him, and wanted him to be good. Why she did not show her love and affection to him? Because she wanted him to be good. That's the only reason. So too much of affection here spoiled Tom. Because of that, he was taking the painkiller, because he was not in a good mood. He was not in a good mood to go to school. All right, so everything, it spoiled the whole attitude of Tom. All right, so this is all about this lesson. And in the next class we will continue with the next lesson. Thank you, children.